Welcome to the Somos Sunnyside podcast, brought to you by the Office of Public Information, where we are sharing stories about the bright side of education.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Somos Sunnyside. Again, here with some very, very special guests, longtime community members, and well known in the community for the work they've done in the community. And so I want to quickly introduce our guests. We have Mike and Lorena Arias. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, you know, it's long overdue. I'm glad that we scheduled you on this podcast because, you know, we want to highlight the amazing things that you guys are doing for the community. And so, you know, especially with the Victoria Teresa Arias Memorial Foundation, there's just so much to talk about. And we want to share that story with the community, you know, not only for the adults in the community, but for our young students that are coming up in our school system to understand the meaning behind this, you know, and the legacy and the memory you guys will continue to carry for your daughter, but also providing opportunities for young people to chase their dreams. And you know, it's such cliche, and you hear it a lot, but it's this piece of si se puede, right? And they can continue to achieve their dreams, you know, wanting to do it, you know, teniendo las ganas, as people say. And you know, we have a lot of amazing stories and a lot of amazing individuals that are doing some great things in the community that are Sunnyside graduates and come from this community. And so, you know, I want to welcome you and I want to take this time to talk a little bit about the foundation, you know, and so let's start there. You know, I do want to, you know, I always share these things about how every time here in the Sunnyside community, I do truly believe in how things come full circle, you know, and so, you know, both Lorena and Mike, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're both Desert View graduates.
Yes.
All right. So talk a little bit about that. So how did you guys meet? Was it the homecoming dance? Was it in the cafeteria where you were grabbing a sandwich, or in the gym? Was Mike flexing in the weight room? Was he flexing in the weight room or something?
He was flexing on the
football field.
On the football field.
Yeah. Wow, you're gonna make me blush on a podcast. So no, actually we met at Desert View High School on our the first football game of our senior year, and Lorena was a cheerleader, and I pretty much knew all the other cheerleaders, and I didn't know her. And I'm just going to come out and say, yes, I was the Jaguar that year. So I was the mascot, and I was walking around through all the cheerleaders, and she caught my eye, and I said, okay, I got to meet this one. And she played hard to get, but we ended up meeting through a mutual friend, and the rest is, as they say, is history, you know?
Yeah, that's awesome. High school sweethearts, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
The last possible year to become that.
Oh, yeah. So what year was that? I mean, because
that
was... when did they start their football team? Like in
86.
86.
Yeah, so it was our senior year. So we were the first 4-year graduating class at Desert View. So that was in 88 when we met, and we graduated in 89.
Oh, gotcha.
So, yeah.
Class of 89.
I know. We just mentioned our age.
Gave away our age.
I know. Well, hey, don't feel bad because I'm a couple of years behind you. Class of 92. I was a freshman when my sister was a senior at Sunnyside, and she always told me, "Stay away from me, leave me alone." You know, and I was just trying to meet all her friends. I'm not here for you, sister. But no, it's just that's what a wonderful story, you know, and you know, and so, you know, I know your kids attended Sunnyside. You know, Mike, you know, Miss Susan Arias worked at Desert View. I know when I was the principal there, an assistant principal there, and so that's what I mean about coming full circle. And Lorena, you know, your dad, El Jefe, Jorge Teran, you know, give him a shout out to him and Gorion and your brothers. You know, our dads worked at Duval Mine, you know, together. A lot of, you know, individuals that lived in this community worked in the mine. So it's just neat to have you on. And so talk a little bit about, you know, your children attending, and then how the foundation all started and go from there.
Well, Desiree, you know, is our oldest, and then Victoria 4 years later, and they both attended Elvira, and from there they went to Challenger, And then Desiree went to Desert View.
Mm-hmm.
Victoria moved on to go to San Miguel. But I'm excited because Desiree now lives in the Sunnyside School District, and I'm hoping my grandson can go to Elvira.
Oh, yeah,
She lives
absolutely.
right there, so I'm hoping that plays out because that would be awesome. I went to Elvira, my daughters went to Elvira, now my grandbaby. That'd be so cool.
Super cool, super cool. And so Desiree graduated in
13.
Yeah, so I was her principal.
Yep,
That was my
yeah.
second year or third year, and so and so I know, in your family, the value of music. The tradition of music, and with your dad, Jorge Teran, and your daughters being in mariachi. So speak a little bit about how they got involved with that and how that evolved.
So it really started all with Desiree, her freshman year at Desert View, and she wanted to join mariachi. And it kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, it was never, both girls never really showed any interest in music. And she came home one day and said, "Hey, I'm going to join the mariachi program at Desert View." And we said, "Okay, great," and we didn't really think too much about it. And then it was a couple of years after that my suegro.
It was that summer. My dad found out that she signed herself up, and he lit up. He was so excited that he knew Dr. V.
Dr.
From,
Valenzuela.
Oh yeah.
From
the Davis Mariachi Camp.
Yeah. Right.
So he knows him personally, and they saw each other at church. And my dad says, "I want to sign my grandkids up." So they signed up all of them, all 6 of them.
Yeah.
Wow.
All 6 grandkids. So that's where it started.
Yeah.
That's where it started.
Yep. So then it ended up, where Desiree ended up playing for all 4 years at Desert View, and Victoria really caught the bug after going to that summer camp and ended up being asked to join Los Changuitos Feos. So where she played for 6 years with Changos. So that was our life. A lot of families have volleyball or softball or football lives, and we had mariachi lives.
You guys weren't the soccer parents.
No, we weren't soccer parents. We were mariachi parents. So, which is pretty much the same thing because you're gigging all weekend and practice during the week. So
a lot of fiestas.
Oh yeah. The one plus was every time we had a cookout at our house, we always had mariachi music live. So.
And free.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
That was the best part.
So that's awesome, and so where do they get their music talents from? Because they got to get it from someone. I mean, I think when people are good at something, there's some special talent, but they're also passionate about what they do, right? And so, who's going to take the credit for?
It wasn't us, that's for sure.
My dad.
Yeah.
Your dad. That's what I figured. Yeah. So again, what a beautiful family that you guys have, and I want to talk about this sensitive subject of Victoria Teresa Arias, and I think the story is out there, and you speak so eloquently about it, and there was a tragic situation where your daughter passed, had an accident, and I won't get into the details of that. I can let you guys speak to that. Which was shocking to all of us and to the entire Sunnyside community. And as we were speaking earlier, my fondest memory of Victoria is not only when I used to see her at Desert View when Desiree had events, mariachi events, and I used to remember how she would always, I wouldn't say tag along, but the little brothers and sisters always tag along. And being that Miss Arias also worked there. I remember seeing her as a young child, and then when this happened, obviously so tragic, and she had her whole life ahead of her at such a young age. Full ride scholarship to St. Mary's University in Minnesota. I know she wanted to get into the medical field and be a surgeon, and it was just this tragic situation took it all away. And I remember going to the mass, the day of her funeral, and gosh, that is just ingrained in my head as when I hear her name, I think of how many people attended that mass, at San Agustin, Catholic Church, which is probably one of the biggest churches here in Tucson, was just jam packed and standing room only, but it goes to show just how many people she touched. And I know, I know it's difficult to talk about, but how did the idea come about to honor her memory, to create this foundation? Because you guys are great people with big hearts, and I know that's what she would have wanted, right? To give back and give other kids opportunities. So talk a little bit about how this foundation started. I mean, obviously it's in memory of your daughter. And what are some of the things, because I know there's a lot of accomplishment. This has really blown up. I remember year one when it started, everything starts small when you start foundations like this. And now it's like, it's huge. I mean, it's like, these things sell out. I mean, try to get into the golf tournament, try to go to the gala. I mean, it's just, people are touched by the story and people want help.
Yeah.
And so, talk a little bit about that if you don't mind.
Yeah, and I'll go back just a little bit. Victoria, graduated in 2017 from San Miguel High School, and like you had mentioned, she had earned a full ride scholarship, and it was, the date will always stick with me, and it was Pi Day, where it was 3/14, where she found out that she had earned her full ride, and so I'll never forget that, and we were sitting in the living room, and she had been up for this scholarship for, working on it for years. And it was through a program that she was involved with at her high school. And, she had applied, done everything that she needed to do, and was just kind of waiting. And that evening, she was inside, in her room, and we just hear her scream, I got it. And she come running out into the living room where we were, ear-to-ear grin and saying, I got the scholarship. And I shared with everyone that was life-changing, not only for her, but for us as a family. It was, like you had mentioned, it was a full ride. And later on, they shared with us that, it was a $235,000 scholarship. It was going to cover everything for all 4 years. And she was so ready. She was ready to go. I mean, she couldn't wait to get done with her senior year, finish everything up, and start this new venture, this new part of her life, and go to school and like you'd mentioned, become a trauma room surgeon. She was a Grey's Anatomy fanatic. I mean, she watched that show day and night while she's getting dressed, while she's eating, while she's studying, and every episode, every season, I don't know how many times, but she would try and show us, oh, look at this episode, and we would just freak out. No, we can't see that. It's too graphic, and no, look, this is what they're going to do. And she was so into it, and that's what she wanted to study. So she graduated May of 17, and then in July of that same year, just a couple of months later, there was an accident, a drowning accident in our pool at the house on that Monday morning, July 10th. And that was probably, without a doubt, the hardest day of our life. It was such a blur, as everything played out. She ended up at the hospital that morning, and was intensive care, ICU unit, and this was probably at I guess the beginning of social media, maybe, or just it's in its infancy stages, but we really didn't let anybody know. And as the day went on at St. Mary's St. Mary's Hospital, in the ICU unit there, people just kept coming, and hey, we saw it on social media, and we heard, and it just swelled up so much that it was mind-boggling to us. The first waiting room filled up, and then the hospital came to us and said, hey, we're going to open up another waiting room. And that one filled up, and another one. So immediately we had all this community support, there for us while we were in the hospital. And unfortunately, 2 days later, God had bigger plans for Victoria, and took her to be with Him to do greater things. So on July 12th, that Wednesday afternoon, Victoria left us and went to be with our Maker. One of the things that happened there in the hospital was there was a representative from Donate Life Arizona that had reached out to us and had asked us if Victoria had ever shown any interest in being an organ donor, and there was something that we really never talked about. She had never had to make that decision because she never got her license. She didn't want to drive. She was barely starting to learn how to drive the weeks before her accident. Yeah. But it was something that she just didn't. She never had any interest in, and we told her, before you go to school, you got to know how to drive. You know, eventually you're going to be driving over there. But that representative in reaching out to us was really a sign, you know, for Lorena and myself in how the rest of the week was going to play out. And Victoria ended up being an organ donor. And I share now, she, instead of studying for 10 years to learn how to save lives, she skipped all that and started saving lives immediately. And she saved 4 lives through organ donation that week. So on that Friday, July 14th. And so from July 14th was the last day that we were in the hospital with her. Exactly a week later, on July 21st, was the Mass that you talked about at St. Augustine Cathedral. And as you mentioned, you know, we found out, or we soon found out, it was standing room only. There was people standing outside the church, we later found out over the years. And there was people that shared with us that they even left because there was nowhere to stand outside either. And really one of the touching moments for us was the mariachis. You know, I had reached out to another Sunnyside product and he's our compadre, is Sal Gallegos, who was Victoria's director at the time with Los Changuitos Feos. And I shared with him and I said, look, you know, there's 2 requests that I have for Victoria's funeral, and that's I want our comadre's group, Mariachi Sonido de Mexico, to play, and I want Victoria's group, Los Changuitos Feos, to play. And he right away said, you know, how do you feel about opening it up to everybody, because there's a lot of people that have asked already. And I said, oh no, that would be Victoria's dream, you know, is to have, you know, be surrounded by all her mariachis. And I'll never forget that that Tuesday and that Thursday, I believe it was, the week of her funeral, it just kept growing and growing and growing. They didn't have a place to stay, and Jose Vaca, the folklorico director at Sunnyside High School, said, "Hey, we can open up the auditorium for a practice rehearsal for the funeral." So we spread the word there, and Desiree, our oldest daughter, went to those 2 rehearsals. And she came home and shared with us. She says, you're not going to believe what I saw. She says, it looked like it was a mariachi conference. There was so many people there, and they was so organized. You know, they had broke off into sections, and then they would get together, rehearse, break off into sections. She goes, it was amazing. And that day, there's estimations that there was probably a little over 100 mariachis. Wow. Young and old, you know, inside the church they're playing. So.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think, you know, as you're saying this, and obviously I get goosebumps here, and I do remember that day vividly, and the mariachis and the standing room only, and I can't even imagine, you know, what a blur that was for you, you know, with everything you guys are dealing with. And I think what's beautiful about this community is how it comes together with these types of situations. You know, I went to high school with Sal, and he's a year older than me, and his brothers, and you know, he's now our director at Desert View High School, and obviously Jose Luis Vaca, you know, teaching folklorico at Sunnyside, and how just the community steps up in these times. But, you know, it just goes to show, you know, you guys as parents, you know, how you raised your children with just these values, these important values of family, right? These important values of you know, music, and how that plays a role in their lives, and you guys deserve a lot of credit for that as well, and we know that Victoria, touched many lives, and so, it's my head just stays in that moment, but it's just I want to talk a little bit about in honoring her memory, some of the events, how the foundation started, because you guys are carrying her memory, carrying her legacy, and others are reaping the benefits of it in a good way, right?
Yeah.
Because I think they're carrying on their dreams by being able to attain scholarships, by being able to attend these schools of their choice. So if you want to talk a little bit about that piece as well.
Yeah. So the community, you talk about the community and the community support, and we really felt that for those 2 weeks. The week of her accident and the week of her funeral. There was a GoFundMe that was started by my sister-in-law's boss, actually, that had reached out and said, "Hey, I want to start this. Can you ask them if it's okay?" And we said yes. And we didn't think much of it at the time, and it ended up being over $17,000 that was raised that week, and so we used that to give Victoria, the best of the best for her services. And when it was all said and done, there was a little over $5,000 that was left. And when we got home after the funeral and talking, that evening and that weekend, Lorena said, what are we going to do? What are we going to do with this? It's not our money. It's our community's money. And that really was the seed, that was planted for us for the foundation. I said, hey, why don't we start a foundation in Victoria's honor and give scholarships in her name? And that's really where it all kind of began,
And then the reason why it had to be scholarships is because Victoria was so passionate about reaching a higher education. She was all about that, and she loved to be on top of her studies and ace her tests, and she was ready. And that's why we were like, okay, we have to give scholarships in her name, because that's what she was passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, many times that's the barrier for students, right? Is the financial piece of them going on to colleges, and it's sad that sometimes students have to settle, right, to say, well, I'm going to stay in town and go to this college or university, rather than really chasing their dreams. If they want to go to St. Mary's University or University of Oregon or whatever school, they should chase their dreams, right? Yeah. And so, the community response, I'm sure, is it continues to be amazing. And so, as you started this foundation, talk a little bit about because now it's you have so many volunteers, and I don't know if you have employees or not, but running this foundation, it's gotten so big that you can't do it yourselves like you maybe did the first couple of years, not yourselves, but with a small team.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so what year are you in now with the foundation, and talk a little bit about the scholarships? How can people get information about what's going on with the Victoria Teresa Arias Memorial Foundation?
So we are in year 6 now of the foundation. It's been 7 years that this past July that Victoria passed away, and from the very beginning, it was something that the idea came into my head, and I started sharing with Lorena. I said, okay, this is what I want to do. This was December of 17. I said I want to do a gala. And give scholarships in Victoria's name and honor the kids at this gala. And she says, that sounds great. And I said, but I want to do it in spring of 18, so 3 months. And what were your words to me?
You're nuts. No way.
Yeah. And but it was important for me. I didn't want to skip a year. So and real quickly, I just want to give a huge shout out to one person, one individual that I really leaned on, and I've really leaned on all my life, and I'm going to kind of throw her under the bus a little bit, because since I was in high school and she was one of my teachers, but I came to NJ Utter and asked her for some help in kind of guidance of starting the foundation and giving scholarships, and what does that look like, and what started off as one scholarship, one $1,000 scholarship originally was our plan, and that first year, because of that community support, quickly turned into 3 scholarships, and we ended up giving $2,000 each that year in spring of 18. So now, fast forward, 6 years later, going into the springtime of 2025, we will be awarding 4 more scholarships. So that'll be a total of 28 Tory scholars that we'll have under our belt, or as we say, part of our Tory family now. But another thing that you brought up, Mr. Castellum, is and I think it's very important for people to hear this, is we have no employees on the foundation. I'm proud to say that it's 100% volunteer driven, and it has been like that from the very beginning. And we've had some volunteers that have been with us from the very, very beginning, and are still with us now, and we've had some that have come and gone, and some that have just joined this over the last year or two. But every event that we do, from our scholarship gala in the summertime to our golf tournament that we do in the fall of every year, it's always a blessing for us to see the amount of volunteers and people that just want to be a part of this foundation, say, we want to give back, how can we do it? And what's been really exciting is it's a lot of our classmates that we went to school with, there's some of them that Lorena went to elementary school with, that we still stayed in touch with, or that have heard what's going on and come back and say, hey, I want to be a part of this, I want to help. So it's that Sunnyside community.
And I want you to hold this thought, because when I attend this event, it just reminds me of a high school reunion, right? But we're going to go to a quick commercial break. Stay with us. A lot more to talk about with the Arias family here, and talking about the legacy and the memory of Victoria Teresa Arias Memorial Foundation.
Sunnyside students can have it all, learning and growing to graduate college, career, and community ready. Don't believe us? Just watch. At Sunnyside Unified School District, we are preparing our graduates with real-world skills and experiences. Our graduates are leaving Sunnyside to pursue an Ivy League education, becoming collegiate-level athletes, and earning prestigious scholarships such as the Gates Millennium, Dell, and Dorrance.
So, it's funny you mentioned that. I've had the opportunity, every chance I get, it's just such a great cause. I want to donate. I want to be a part of it. I mean, it's this synergy, right, that runs through this beautiful foundation that people want to be a part of. I think it's huge that you talk about. It's all volunteer based, but it's gotten so big that I know you need all these volunteers. I can't, every time I go, it blows my mind. I always think about, God, what takes place behind the scenes, to run these events, because being part of this school district, there's a lot of events we have, and I know what it takes behind the scenes just to run high school graduation, right? And when you have tournaments and galas and all the things that you need to put in place, whether they're the guest speakers, and you guys are like super generous in inviting the scholarship recipients. One of my favorite pieces is when you guys go to the schools to surprise the students, and we've been a part of that with some of the Sunnyside graduates that have earned that are Tory scholars, and what a special moment, because it's not all about the money. It's not all about the scholarship. They learn the story, and they learn that there are great people in this community and great people in this world, and it's how do they pay it forward. So I want to thank you guys for continuing to support the Sunnyside community. I know you don't forget where you come from, so going to the event. When I think of the event, I run into people from high school. Just you cross paths with people that that you may have a history with, or you went to elementary school with them, like you said. So one of the things that sticks out in my mind from the gala event is this individual. I believe his name's Raul from Las Cruces, and as you mentioned, Tori was a donor, and this individual received the pancreas and kidney. And so when you mentioned that for the very first time a few years ago, that was like a moving moment, and it's and how you said, I can't remember exactly how you said it, but it was something in regards to that Tori lives within us and is inside, Raul, and just, man, it was such a tearjerker, for us, just because she's continuing to touch lives, right? Yeah. And so, what a special moment, special moment.
Yeah, very, very special to us. They had reached out to us through social media, and again, the power of social media, and you never know who you can reach. And when they did that, it just floored me. I was actually golfing with a new sponsor of ours, when I got the message, and I had just met this individual for a couple of weeks ago before that, and I'm bawling like a baby, in the golf cart with him, to the point where he had to stop, and "Are you okay, Mike? Are you sure?" And later on I shared with him everything what was going on. But they had seen a story that we had done locally with one of the local news channels here, and they had actually written a letter to us. And I was reading their letter, or showing their letter on that news story. They had seen it. The news station shared it on their social media. Donate Life had shared it. Donate Life Arizona shared it on their social media. And they saw the story, and his wife said, "Hey, I think I just met your donor's parents." And he was floored. And she says, "There's your letter that you wrote. I'm looking at it in this news story." So we invited him. I told him, Kim and Raul are their names. We're having a gala in a few weeks. We would love for you guys to come out. Would you be interested? And if you're not, we weren't sure how they would feel. And no, and I'll never forget it. He says, "No, I want to meet as many of Victoria's friends and family as I can." Mm-hmm. And I told him, I said, "Well, the gala is the place to do it, because there'll be 500 people there." Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that first year we kept it a surprise. There was 3 of us that knew: Lorena, myself, and Desiree, and actually 4, our behind the stage girl. Mm-hmm. She had to know as well. But he was sitting at our table with Lorena's parents there as well, and they had no idea who this couple was. And that night I was sharing with everybody that Victoria had saved lives, and we met one of her donors and showing his letter on the screen there at the gala. And I wanted him to, I mentioned that evening, I wanted him to read the letter. But instead, why don't we just bring him up on stage? And that's how we introduced him to everybody, and kind of floored everybody there, including my in-laws. My mom was sitting right behind him, and how come you didn't tell us? And, how could you do that? Yeah. But after that was all said and done, the neat thing that Raul shared with us that night, or did, is, my mother-in-law and my mom both, they were a little timid. They were, they didn't know how to act to approach him. "Can we give you a hug?" And he just stood up, and he opened up his arms, and he said, "Come on, she's right here." And he's tapping to his kidneys and pancreas. "She's right here. Come on, give her a hug." And he said, "Whoever wants to give Victoria a hug, he's open for it." And that was very, very moving for us. And to this day now, they come to every gala, and so we enjoy seeing them every year. We go visit Victoria, but he tells us every year when he's leaving that evening and going back home, I made a promise. I will take care of Victoria as long as I'm alive. I will take care of myself to honor her and respect her. But yeah, it's very touching for us to have them as guests. So
yeah, this is definitely the hardest podcast we've had to do, just because it's so touching. Yeah, I remember that moment as well when Raul, you brought him up, and it's just Victoria lives on.
Yeah.
She lives on, and through people and all these people that she touched in the community. One of the things I want to take advantage of is talk about how, where do you see this headed? Where do you guys want this to go? I know you're all in helping the community, helping students, young people, but how can people get involved? Is there a website? I know when people hear this story, our listeners, I know they're going to want to get involved, and we want to put the word out because we want to raise more scholarships. Our kids in this community need more scholarship money, and we have different avenues. We have our Dollars for Scholars, the Sunnyside Foundation, but there can never be enough, so we want to honor and also support the Victoria Teresa Arias Memorial Foundation. So what's the message to listeners and how they can get involved? How can they look for these events? What are your future aspirations, with this?
Well, from the very beginning, it was my goal was to at least one time give a full ride. That was always my goal. Victoria had earned her full ride, and I shared that it was life changing for us and for her. And so I had said from the very beginning, I at least once want to do that. Over the years, we started off, like I'd mentioned, it was going to be one scholarship. That first year it became 3. So then it was 3 scholarships a year for the first 2 years. And the foundation kept growing. So in year 3, we ended up giving 4 scholarships, with one of them being our Nueva Estrella Award, which was a $40,000 scholarship. And that year's winner was, proud to say, a Desiree graduate, Ariana Tabanico. She's doing great things now at the University of Arizona. So then for the next couple of years, we had kept it that way. It was going to be one Nueva Estrella, $40,000 winner, and then 3 $4,000 scholarships. But again, the community support has been so great that this year, our board sat down after this year's gala and said, okay, where are we at? And Lorena and I had been talking about it since the beginning of the year, and I said, I shared, I think we might be able to do this sooner than later and give the full ride. So we kind of sat down, hammered out all the numbers, taking a look at everything. So in June, right after this year's gala, we met with our board, and I said, I think we're ready to seriously talk about giving a full ride. Mm-hmm. Well, during that meeting, one of our board members brought up who is in education, Ricky Dominguez. He
Sunnyside grad.
Yeah, another Sunnyside grad. He had shared, Victoria was unique. Victoria's situation was unique. He called her and the situation an anomaly, and not every student is going to need that much money for, and then have that kind of situation that she was in. And he says, when in fact the $40,000 Nueva Estrella awards that we've awarded the last 3 years now are probably a full ride. We just don't realize that. Mm-hmm. So we took that, and in the following week, we reached out to one of our scholarship winners who was at NAU, and she was our second year winner of the Nueva Estrella Award winner. And I asked her, I said, so how'd your first year go, at NAU? And she said, oh, no, I'm living on campus. And because of Victoria's scholarship, everything was paid for. And I asked her, I said, so you didn't know anything after your freshman year? She said, no. And she says, in fact, in registering for her sophomore year, this current year at NAU, she was even able to upgrade her housing, get a nicer dorm, and the scholarship still covered it. So we have already been giving full rides. And like Ricky said, we just didn't realize it. So then the conversations shifted. So what if we try and do that instead of one big one? What if we still try and help 4 kids? So we're proud to announce that this year, in March of 2025, the senior class, current senior class of Sunnyside and Desert View, one of those applicants will be one of four $40,000 scholarship winners that we're going to be awarding this coming year. So.
It's so good to hear.
Yeah,
So good to hear. So you heard it here. You heard it first here on Somos Sunnyside podcast. So there's going to be four $40,000 scholarships. Wow.
Uh-huh.
And
one of
will
those
be from the Sunnyside School
One
District.
of those will be from the Sunnyside Unified School District. So to our students out there, make sure you're applying. Make sure you don't apply, you can't win it, right? You can't earn it, and so that's such great news. And so again, for those is do you need more volunteers? Where can people donate? Where can people get involved? Because I know when people hear this story, they want to become a part of it.
Yeah. So the biggest thing is you can find a lot of information on the website. It's the VTAMemorialFoundation.org. On that, you will find the scholarship application that is already up, so students can apply. And we want to reiterate that it's not just open to female students, or you don't have to be a musician or a mariachi musician. It's open up to all seniors at Desert View High School, Sunnyside High School, and at Star. So very, very, I don't want to say easy application, but it's not difficult. We encourage the students to take the time to look through it, fill it out, and submit it. But more than anything, share your story with us. And that's what we're really looking for. But on there, you'll find some information on our upcoming events, and the next one will be the big gala that we'll have in 2025. That'll be Friday, June 20th, at the Casino del Sol again, where we'll honor the 4 winners and their families that evening. But you'll also find our phone number and our email on there. If you're interested in volunteering, we're always looking for volunteers. Like I mentioned, we can't do this without our volunteers. And so reach out to us, and let us know, hey, I want to be a part of it. Maybe they only want to help with the gala, or they only want to help with the golf tournament. But there's stuff going on year round with us.
But also the huge part of the foundation, that the reason why we are where we are at and able to give these 4 $40,000 scholarships is our sponsors. Without them, there's no way we could do it. So if anybody else out there wants to make
Get
this
involved.
foundation grow, that they can also reach out through the phone number or email address.
Big thank you to the sponsors, and you heard that. So those people that are listening here, if you want to get involved as a sponsor, you can get the information on the website and get involved. This is it's what it's all about. Getting involved and giving back and paying it forward, right?
Exactly.
And so I want to thank you both for coming on and sharing the story of your daughter Victoria Teresa Arias, talking about the foundation. And really just sharing your family story, and how you guys met. And so we have the first Jagger the Jaguar in the house, Mike Arias.
Very first one, yeah.
I'm going to have to share that with Desert View High School.
I'm sure there's pictures out there somewhere.
So they're probably wondering, why does that mascot keep chasing that cheerleader around?
That's exactly how it started.
So, no, but, in being serious here, I mean, just I want to thank you both. I mean, again, I really mean it when I say, what a beautiful family you guys have, and all that you're doing for this community. I know people truly appreciate it, and it's obvious that people want to be a part of this because I've been lucky enough to attend the events, and there's people from all walks of life there. I know you guys encourage the entire community. It's just not the Sunnyside community, but all of the Tucson area just getting involved with this. This movement of helping young people, and you guys are doing wonderful things, and we want to continue to support that. And so I want to thank you for sharing the story once again.
Oh, of course. And
one last thing I wanted him to share
Please
is
do.
the QCO.
Oh yeah, so one of the newest ways that people can be involved in supporting the foundation through their donations, and probably the most exciting for us that's happened recently was we became a QCO, which is the Qualified Charitable Organization. So what that allows individuals to do, and married couples, so if in filing your taxes, It's a dollar for dollar state tax credit, just like what the schools have been benefiting with over the years. But what the great thing is that you don't have to select. You can donate to the schools and you can donate to Victoria's Foundation through the QCO. And you'll find that information on the website as well. You know, our QCO number is on there. But, you know, individuals can donate $424 and married couples can donate $821. So that's the easiest way. It lowers your tax liability, right. Dollar for dollar. If you don't owe any taxes, you get it back as a rebate or a refund, tax refund. But that's one of the easiest ways that people can help help us, you know, create that ripple effect in Victoria's name. You know, we say she was the pebble that we threw in that was thrown in the ocean, and those ripple effects. We don't see how far those ripples are going, and we won't ever know how far those ripples are going. So, but they can be a part of it that way.
That pebble's become a boulder, Mr. Arias, and so that's it's awesome to see just how involved the community's gotten. So you heard it here. You know, you want to get involved. Visit the website. There's many ways you can get involved, whether it's volunteers, whether it's a tax credit donation, whether it's just a regular donation, sponsorships, and so we're here to continue to educate the public about how they can get involved, and for the young people listening out there, our students, don't be afraid to apply. There's nothing that bad that's going to come out of it. There's only benefits that will come out of it. Share your story, as Mr. Arias said here. They just don't want applicants. They want to get to know people. They want to get to know your story, and I think every successful person in this world has a story, right? There's somebody that affected their lives in a positive way, and many times it happens in our school systems, right? Whether it's a counselor, you brought up Miss Utter earlier, whether it's a coach, a teacher, and so that will continue to happen. And so once again, I want to thank you guys for coming on the show, and look forward to joining you at future events, and keeping Victoria Teresa Arias Memorial Foundation, moving forward and keeping her legacy and memory alive. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having us, Mr. Castellan. We appreciate it.
You're very welcome. This wraps up this episode of Somos Sunnyside. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Somos Sunnyside. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and found it entertaining. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to subscribe and share our podcast with la comunidad. For updates on future episodes and more, be sure to follow us on social media and visit our website at susd12.org. We appreciate your support and can't wait to have you back for the next episode. Hasta la próxima vez en Somos Sunnyside.